Hey guys, welcome back to my next book preview video. This week we have another Dragonart book, this time Dragonart Evolution. So a quick look at the front and back there. So you might recognize this one here as well. So we'll talk about this in a second. So I've just adjusted my lighting a little bit. They are a little bit glossy, so some things are a bit too reflective, but hopefully you can still see things at this angle. The lighting is not perfect. Quick look at the contents there. So, a long time ago, I previewed one of the older Dragonart books, How to Draw Dragons. I'll show that in a second. I'll put links for everything below. But it was a pretty cool book. I'd say they kind of aimed at beginners. They were very much, a step-by-step book, how to draw this, start with a circle, blah, blah, blah. This book I put off buying because a lot of the examples looked very similar. In fact, I think some of them in this beginning section are the same. So I wasn't sure if it was the same book, if I'm being honest, so I put off buying it for a very long time until this came up nice and cheap. But I always liked that book because I always felt like some of the designs were just awesome for the dragons, very inspiring. So for me it was more of an ideas kind of thing, a motivation, dragon design, stuff like that. It goes into very basics of, how to draw eyes and stuff for dragons, but this one seems to have more information about individual sections. So a little bit there about eyes, a little bit about overbite jaw, next bit about underbite jaws. And I don't think it had that much information in the first book. It did have bits, but as I mentioned, I wasn't sure if this was the same thing. It seems to be, in my opinion, a little bit more detail, or at the very least, different information, with a little bit of overlap. There are still projects at the end that are very much, step-by-step how to draw it. Again, I don't think there's a huge amount of value depending what stage of the artist journey you're in. If you're maybe a child or a beginner, or you find, complete step-by-steps helpful, then that's great. But I think at a certain stage, it's more about learning how to draw, let's say, the dragon from different angles and things like that, as opposed to just how to draw this dragon in this position. Again, sorry, the lighting is not ideal. I am going to be adding a bit of contrast when I edit this video, but sometimes that makes it worse. It's my own fault for doing this late on. So I mentioned one of the first books I did, that was this one. Again, another really cheap one. We haven't talked about the artist yet. I'll mention her in a second. But this is a very similar book. Some similar overlap pages and stuff. Some basic construction and stuff. And then onto step-by-steps. So it's kind of like a part 2 to this one, I would say. I'll put links to this in the description box below. But I mentioned in a video recently the artist or the author of this book, Dragonart Peffer, I think she's called Jessica. At one stage she had a huge online presence, I think, quite a long time ago now, but she seems to have kind of vanished. I think she was quite big on DeviantArt, quite a fan base for this sort of thing. She's got absolutely loads of designs. In fact, this is the one that I actually just recorded the other day, so Dragonart Ultimate Gallery. I won't flick through it, you can check out the links in the description box below, but I was mentioning in that just how much work she's got and, what happened to her kind of thing. I always ask you guys in the comments in case you guys do know. Someone actually did just reply on that one to say she started working for a different project. It was like a game company called Dragonflight, I think, which is pretty cool. But I'd love to see what she's doing recently because I don't think there's really any sign of her in like the last 10 years. Hopefully she's still doing well. Designs like this, by the way, were in that last book I just showed, which was the Ultimate Gallery. But as mentioned, depending what level you're at, this style of art, you might say, well, it's a bit too, maybe not cartoony, but cel-shaded anime style. Maybe it's not, it's not really the kind of thing I draw, in all honesty. But I just think it's really good for getting an understanding of some basics with dragons. She goes into like different ways to draw horns, claws, different shapes of features, and as mentioned, not to repeat myself too much, but I just find these kind of books very inspiring for the designs of them. So if you're a fantasy artist, you might find that useful. Another series that you guys have been requesting I make some videos on are the Dracopedia books, if that's how you pronounce them. So I just got this one through today. I haven't recorded a book video for this one just yet. The style of this is a lot more realistic. This one isn't actually a how to draw book or anything like that, more of a field guide, but again, I buy them more for like inspiration and stuff, and there's quite a few books in that series, so I'm hoping that some of you guys will enjoy those kind of books. Again, the Dragonart ones, I think they're all by Impact Books, including the Dracopedia ones. And they've actually got some pretty cool books, but then they've also got some that are not so good, if I'm being honest. And with the Dracopedia books, there is actually a few more in the series, like how to colour, and I don't know, like a complete collection of that first book. In fact, there's another one that's how to draw people or humanoid type characters, and I keep looking at that one because, again, I buy these for motivation. So I think, you know, drawing ideas of these, you know, cool characters that are fantasy inspired, the clothing, drapery, stuff like that is pretty cool. But if I'm being honest, as good as I think this artist is at drawing dragons, and I really do think she's good at it, definitely has a ton of experience just from the sheer quantity she's drawn. Not sure how this one's standing on those nails though. But yeah, I think her dragons and her creature design, stuff like that, are really cool. But her human characters, I'm not a big fan of. So far, I haven't bought that one. But I believe the expanded collection of the initial book that I showed earlier, I think that one includes the first book and the humanoid characters. Don't quote me though, in case I am wrong. Please do correct me in the comments as well if you've got any more information. These books seem to be about 160 pages-ish each, maybe a little bit less, actually 150 pages, let's say. But that's pretty much it, guys. I've got loads more books like this. I hope you found this video useful if you were considering buying the books. I'll put links to where I got them from in the description box below. But yeah, they're pretty cheap to pick up. If you did enjoy this video, make sure that you subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out a lot and means I can keep making content like this. Thanks so much for watching, everyone.